Here we're going to tie a fly called the Spundun. First thing we're going to do is we're going to start some thread here at the middle portion of the fly. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of my dubbing here. I'm just going to take some olive superfine dubbing. I'm going to dub a very tight little dubbing rope here on my thread. Dub it as tight as I can here. I use a little bit of spit or some wax. That'll really help. What I'm going to do is just right here at the bend, I'm just going to build up a little bit of a dubbing ball. You can pull your dubbing tight if you need to here. Just takes a couple of wraps. There we go. And I'm going to take my thread forward, and I can pull off any of the dubbing if I need to here. And we're ready to tie in the tail. For the tail, I'm just going to use some dun colored Hackle fibers from a dry fly feather. I just strip a few of them off. I try to stroke them back here so that they stand straight up. I can get a nice even tear off of them and keep the tips as even as possible. We want this tail to be about the length of the shank of the hook, so I just kind of roughly measure it out. I want to tie it in right on top of the shank, just like so. And then I'm going to take a couple of wraps here back to that dubbing ball, and what this is going to do is it's going to splay the tail feathers out, just like so, and kind of fan them. That's what I want. I'm going to take my thread forward here to about a little more than the halfway point. And take my thread back once more. We're now ready to dub the rest of the body. I'm going to use that same dubbing, a little bit of olive. You can also use a little darker dubbing like the blue winged olive from the Superfine blend. It's another good color. Again, I just dub it nice and tight onto the thread, as tight as I can get it. Dub right up to your tail, and take the dubbing forward. I like to kind of gently taper it as I come forward. It's better to put just a little bit on your thread and add more later rather than add too much at once. I usually just add in little clumps, small amounts. We need to leave a little bit of room up here by the head, so I'm just going to dub right up to that point. I still have about 25% of the hook left. At this point, we're going to take a little bit of Comparadun hair. You can either use natural or you can use some dun color. I'm using some dun, but either one works just fine. I'm going to put it in a hair stacker here. I'm going to stack it so that the tips are even. This Comparadun usually stacks pretty straight. Give it a couple more taps here. I like to get the tips as even as I can. Now once I've got those tips nice and even, I'm going to take the fibers here. I'm going to hold them up to my hook here. I want these fibers to stand up off the top of the shank of the hook, about the length of the shank. So I just roughly measure them out, pinch the fibers, and I cut it about to the length that I want it, maybe a 1/16 of an inch more. Show you why here in a second. go. Now when I lay this onto my hook shank, I want the butt ends to face backwards. And I want them to face backwards just about that 1/16 of an inch. And I'm going to pinch them into place, do a nice loose wrap, second loose wrap, and then I'm going to take the hair and I'm going to let it spin on the shank. Just like so. And I'll trim these butt ends a little bit. Sometimes they get a little bit uneven. So I'm just going to trim a few of them. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the ballpoint pen here, the back of it, and I'm just going to push all those fibers back. You can use your fingers, but I like to use that pen. Jump our thread to just in front of all those fibers. Push them all back again. Then what I'm going to do is stroke them back with my fingers as much as I can. I'm going to make some wraps right in front of all these fibers. I'm going to kind of use the thread to wedge them backwards. There we go, just like so. Then I can whip finish very carefully here. Try not to catch any of those fibers if you can get away with it. Got a couple that aren't really cooperating with me. There we go. The thread itself will be the head. And then what we're going to do is we're going to trim the bottom fibers here. We want this fly to sit flush on the water. So I trim the wing so that I get a perfect half moon shape. And this one's tied a little bit sparse. That's the way I like them, but you can tie them a little more dense if you so desire. You can see there at the bottom we have basically a little bit of legs. That's what those little deer hair fibers are supposed to look like. A little thorax. Give you a head-on view here if I can. You can see I have that half moon shape. That's what we're looking for. And that's all there is to the Spundun. Pretty easy fly to tie. We tie in a lot of different colors. PMDs, blue and olives, drakes, whatever you like. And you can get all the materials for this fly at intheriffle.com.